I remember that day it all started. I found this very, very special place, an area that's protected with a big piece of kelp forest. And I remember there was this strange shape to my left. And just going down and seeing this really strange thing, the fish even seemed to be confused. You think, what on earth is this animal doing? And I think she was a little bit afraid of me. So she lifted this incredibly slippery piece of algae that you can hardly even hold in your hands and just wrapped it in this extraordinary cloak around her. And then stared at me out of this little gap. And then boom, you know, she was gone. It's a hard thing to explain, but sometimes you just get a feeling. And, there's something to this creature that's very unusual. There's something to learn. There's something special about her. Then I had this crazy idea. What happened if I just went to see her every day? What happens if I never miss a day? Initially, she was clearly affected by my presence. So I thought, I'll leave the camera there, and that'll record her going about her business. She sees this shiny new thing in the forest, and she's coming at it slowly just in case it attacked. This is something different, something interesting, touching it, feeling it, tasting it. If she was in a playful mood, you couldn't leave it there for too long. She just pulled the thing over. After visiting her more and more and more, there was a definite moment where that fear had subsided tremendously. She'd see this big movement and she'd be slightly afraid, and then, no, it's him. And she'd come out and be very curious and very interested, but not taking stupid chances, keeping all the other arms attached to the den and the suckers in place. And it just happens. I put my hand out a tiny bit. Something happens when that animal makes contact. By far the most powerful moment is when she comes out of the den, because that's when you know there's this full trust. There's no holding the arms back just in case I have to pull back. It's like, I totally trust this human. I'm coming out of the den. Early on, I was making a lot of mistakes. One day she was following me, and that's the most incredible thing, is to be followed by an octopus. You're just backing away, moving backwards, and this incredible animal is coming towards you. There's not a lot of fear in it at all. It's curious, and there's this trust, and it's like this fantastic feeling. And then, bam! I dropped my camera lens. And it startles her, and she's got a huge fright. You just want to kick yourself because, you could have just ended the most incredible interaction and deep trust. You might have just ruined it. And I thought, this is over. She's gone. Finally, after looking for her for a week, day after day, there she was. It's like a human friend waving and saying, "Hi, I'm excited to see you." And I could feel it, like from one moment to the next. Okay, I trust you. I trust you, human. And now you can come into my octopus world. And she's moving towards me, and then my natural instinct is to, gently back away. And I just wanted to keep still. So I held onto a rock. She just kept coming and then covered my whole hand. There I was, just staring into the eyes of this incredible creature. When you have that connection with that animal and have those experiences, it's absolutely mind-blowing. There's no greater feeling on earth. The boundaries between her and I just seem to dissolve. Just the pure magnificence of her. All I could do at that time was just think of her in the water and on land. It just became a bit of an obsession. You just want to visit her every day and see what's going on. And you can't wait to get back into the water. I mean, what goes through her mind? What's she thinking? Does she dream? If she dreams, what does she dream about? She just ignited my curiosity in a way that I'd never experienced before. The first instinct is to try and scare the sharks away. But then you realize you'd be interfering with the whole process of the forest. She was out of her den, moving near the edge of the forest. I noticed a shark. The body was slightly hunched forward and it was following the scent trail. It's not good. Thank God she's safe right under the crack, but the shark is coming right into there. I can clearly see the severed arm in its mouth. You had that terrible feeling in your stomach. She was moving very badly, slowly, very weak. And she's bleeding, smells in the water. There's quite a distance to her den. Are the sharks going to pitch up again? I thought about helping her back physically to the den, but I didn't do that. I didn't know what was going to happen to her and if this was going to make her weak and vulnerable, or if that were going to finish her off that night. And I couldn't help feeling, had I been responsible for this? Was she out because of me? I felt very vulnerable, as if somehow what happened to her had happened to me in some strange way. And then this almost felt psychologically like I was going through a type of dismembering. You start thinking about your own death and your own vulnerability, worried about your family, your child. I hadn't been a person that was overly sentimental towards animals, but I realized I was changing. She was teaching me to become sensitized to others. I had a scary feeling going into the water early the next day. I was very relieved to see that she was alive and breathing, but she's right at the back of her den, not moving too much. I was just checking the den every day, wondering if this was the day I wouldn't see her. The big relief was a week or so later, when I can see it healed over pretty fast. And then the most incredible thing happened. I saw this tiny miniature arm starting to grow back. And it gave me this strange sense of confidence to see that she can get past this incredible difficulty. And I felt in my life, I was getting past the difficulties I had. In this strange way, our lives were mirroring each other. My relationship with people and with humans was changing. And it hit me how she was teaching me so much. You just can't wait to get back into the water the next morning because there's so much to do and to understand every little behavior. I was around for a good 80% of her life. Each moment is so precious because it's so short. There's this one incredible day where there's these fish swimming in fairly shallow water, and suddenly she's reaching up towards the surface. Essentially, she's playing with the fish. Oh, then she just completely loses interest with them and comes over and grabs a hold of me. That was the last time we made physical contact. If I think back, I remember it was a very rough day, very turbulent sediment everywhere. And I went down and, oh, there's another big octopus right next to her. It's very, very rare to see two octopuses close together. I said to myself, what's going on? And then realized both animals were relaxed and thinking the mating was beginning. By this point, I knew quite well the stages of an octopus's life. So while I was very excited to see this mating was beginning, there was a sort of dread in the bottom of my stomach. She wasn't coming out of there. There was no more feeding. There was no more hunting. huge part of her body is actually given to those eggs. She's just slowly dying and timing her death exactly for the hatching of those eggs. I mean, it struck home with me so hard. Here's an invertebrate, essentially a mollusk, sacrificing her own life for her young. And next thing I saw, she's washed out of her den, barely alive. It's just heartbreaking. Part of me just wanted to hold her. But I didn't do that. And the next day, a big shark came and just took her away into the misty forest. Often I go back to the place of her main den and just float above it, feel her there. Of course I miss her. But underneath the sadness is this incredible pride for this animal that's been through the impossible odds to get to this place. I mean, an unimaginable life. A few months later, after she died, I actually found this tiny little octopus. I kind of imagined that it might be one of her young. It was kind of the right size and the right time. It was joyous. It was like, oh, there she is. She made me realize just how precious wild places are. You slowly start to care about all the animals, even the tiniest ones. You realize that everyone is very important and to sense how vulnerable these wild animals' lives are. And actually, then, how vulnerable all our lives on this planet are. You're in touch with this wild place and it's speaking to you. Its language is visible. I fell in love with her, but also with that amazing wildness that she represented and how that changed me. She taught me that we're not just visitors, we're part of this place. And once you figure that out, you see what really matters most.